Sometimes the biggest mistake in a woman's life becomes the reason a billionaire destroys the world to protect her. The first drop of blood hit the white marble floor before Olivia Carter realized the crowd around her had gone silent. Camera flashes exploded across the entrance of the Blackwood Royale Hotel like lightning trapped inside crystal walls while reporters shoved microphones toward her trembling face. At 8 months pregnant with twins, she could barely stay on her feet in 3-inch heels that suddenly felt like knives against her swollen ankles. Her hand instinctively moved to her stomach as one of the babies kicked hard beneath her cream maternity dress. The winter wind cut through Manhattan like shattered glass, lifting strands of her blonde hair across tear-stained cheeks while thousands of dollars worth of black luxury cars lined the curb outside the charity gala. "Miss Carter, are the babies Ethan Blackwood's?" a reporter shouted. "Did you hide the pregnancy from America's youngest billionaire?" Olivia closed her eyes for one painful second. 6 months ago she had been an ordinary waitress carrying plates inside a crowded Chicago steakhouse, worrying about overdue rent and whether her fiancé still loved her. Now her face was on every entertainment channel in America because of one night she still couldn't forget. The giant hotel doors opened behind the reporters with a low metallic echo that instantly changed the atmosphere. Security guards stepped aside. Conversation stopped. Even the paparazzi lowered their cameras for half a heartbeat. Ethan Blackwood had arrived. The billionaire stepped out of a long black limousine wearing a charcoal overcoat over a midnight blue suit that probably cost more than Olivia made in a year. At 34 years old, Ethan carried the cold, intimidating calm of a man who owned skyscrapers, private jets, and half the financial district of Manhattan. But the moment his gray eyes landed on Olivia, something inside him cracked. Completely. Olivia saw it happen in real time. His expression froze. His breathing stopped. Then his eyes dropped to the ultrasound photo shaking in her hand. Twins. The city noise disappeared beneath the violent pounding of her heartbeat. Ethan took one slow step forward like a man walking into a dream he had chased for months. Reporters immediately swarmed closer. "Mr. Blackwood, is she the woman from Aspen? Are those your heirs? Is this why your engagement was cancelled?" Olivia felt dizzy. The flashing lights blurred together into streaks of white and silver across the marble entrance. She never wanted this. Never wanted fame. Never wanted headlines. She only wanted to survive long enough to give her babies a peaceful life. Ethan stopped inches away from her, staring at her face like he couldn't believe she was real. 6 months. 6 months searching every hotel record, every airport camera, every private investigator report after the mysterious woman from the snowstorm disappeared before sunrise. And now she stood in front of him carrying his children. "Olivia!" His voice came out rougher than expected, almost breathless. She looked up slowly, her blue eyes glossy with fear and exhaustion. "I thought you forgot me," she whispered. Ethan's entire jaw tightened. "Forget you?" he said quietly. "You were the only thing I couldn't." But before Olivia could answer, another voice suddenly cut through the freezing Manhattan air. "Mr. Blackwood," his lawyer said urgently while stepping out of the crowd with a pale expression. "The board just called an emergency meeting. They know about the twins." The freezing wind whipped across the hotel entrance as Ethan Blackwood stared at the woman he had spent 6 months trying to find. Around them, camera shutters clicked nonstop like machine gun fire made of light, but Ethan barely heard any of it. His entire world had narrowed to Olivia Carter standing in front of him with tired blue eyes, trembling hands, and 2 babies carrying his last name growing beneath her heart. His lawyer Daniel Reed stepped closer, lowering his voice. "The board is panicking. Investors already saw the footage online. Blackwood Technologies' stock dropped 4% in 20 minutes. Ethan did not even look at him. "I do not care." Daniel's expression tightened. "You should. They think this pregnancy scandal could destroy the merger deal in Tokyo." Olivia immediately stepped backward at the word scandal. That one word hit her harder than the freezing December air. Of course. To people like Ethan, She was not a woman carrying twins alone while working double shifts and skipping meals to afford prenatal vitamins. She was a problem. A headline. A risk to billion-dollar investors. She lowered her eyes and wrapped both arms protectively around her stomach. I should go, she whispered. Ethan looked at her so fast it almost startled her. No. The word came out sharp enough to silence even the reporters nearby. Olivia swallowed hard. The baby shifted inside her again, pressure tightening across her lower back from standing too long in heels she could barely feel anymore. Ethan noticed immediately. His expression changed from shock to concern in seconds. You are in pain. I am fine. You are shaking. Olivia looked away toward the crowded Manhattan street glowing with Christmas lights and passing yellow taxis. Snow had started falling again, soft white flakes drifting across the black marble entrance of the hotel. 6 months ago snow had brought them together. Now it felt like the universe was forcing them back into each other's lives whether they were ready or not. Ethan slowly removed his cashmere coat and wrapped it around her shoulders before she could protest. The warmth hit her instantly, carrying the faint scent of cedarwood and expensive cologne she still remembered from Aspen. One terrible perfect night she had replayed in her head every single day since disappearing before sunrise. Why did you leave? Ethan asked quietly. Olivia's throat tightened. Because I saw the news the next morning. Ethan frowned. What news? Your engagement. For the first time since stepping out of the limousine, Ethan looked genuinely confused. Then realization crossed his face like a crack through ice. That was not real. Olivia stared at him. Every magazine in America said you were marrying some European billionaire's daughter. Ethan let out a bitter laugh without humor. The board created that rumor after my brother died. They wanted investors to think I was stable enough to stay CEO. Olivia blinked slowly, trying to process everything. You mean, you were never engaged? No. The single word shattered 6 months of assumptions inside her chest. Suddenly every lonely night felt heavier. Every shift waiting tables while pregnant. Every doctor appointment alone. Every moment wondering whether he would have cared if he knew. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice until it became almost impossible to hear beneath the wind. I searched for you, Olivia. Her eyes widened. What? Private investigators. Hotel records. Airport footage. I even went back to that bar in Aspen 3 times hoping you would somehow walk through the door again. The emotion in his voice terrified her more than anger would have. Billionaires were supposed to be cold. Untouchable. Ethan sounded like a man who had been quietly falling apart for months. Before Olivia could answer, another flash exploded directly in her face. She flinched hard. Ethan instantly turned, placing himself between her and the cameras like pure instinct. No more photos, he said coldly. One reporter laughed nervously. Mr. Blackwood, America wants answers. Ethan's gray eyes turned icy. America can wait. Then Olivia suddenly grabbed the side of his arm. Her breathing caught sharply. Ethan looked down immediately. What is wrong? She tried to answer, but another tight wave rolled through her stomach, stronger this time. Fear flashed across her exhausted face. I think one of the babies is coming early. The world around Ethan Blackwood slowed to a terrifying silence the moment Olivia gripped his arm. Her fingers tightened against the sleeve of his coat while pain flickered across her pale face faster than the camera flashes surrounding them. Snow drifted through the freezing Manhattan air, melting against the marble steps beneath her trembling heels. Olivia, Ethan said carefully, his voice lower now, steadier. Look at me. She tried to breathe through the pressure tightening across her stomach, but fear had already taken over. I am only 32 weeks. She whispered. It is too early. Ethan's jaw tightened instantly. He had negotiated billion-dollar mergers without blinking. He had buried his younger brother without crying in public. But nothing had prepared him for the panic rising inside his chest at the thought of losing her or the babies before he even had the chance to know them. Daniel stepped closer again, phone pressed tightly against his ear. The board members are demanding a statement within the hour. They are afraid investors will think this affects your judgment. Ethan did not even turn around. Cancel the gala. Daniel blinked. What? Every guest. Every speech. Every camera inside that ballroom. Ethan's gray eyes never left Olivia's face. Nothing matters more than her right now. Around them, reporters erupted into louder chaos the second they heard him. Questions exploded from every direction. Did Ethan Blackwood just cancel the biggest charity event of the year for her? Is the pregnancy confirmed? Are the twins heirs to Blackwood Industries? Olivia suddenly looked overwhelmed again. Too many lights. Too much noise. Too many strangers staring at her body like it belonged on a stock market report. Ethan noticed her breathing becoming uneven. Instantly, he moved closer and gently placed one hand against her back. Forget them, he said quietly. Just focus on me. The strange thing was she actually wanted to. Because 6 months ago in Aspen, before she knew his name, Ethan had looked at her exactly the same way across that quiet bar while snowstorms buried the mountains outside. Like she was the only person in the room worth listening to. Olivia remembered every detail now. The amber glow of the fireplace reflecting against crystal glasses. The sadness hidden behind his calm expression. The way he listened when she talked about growing up in Ohio with a single mother who worked double shifts at a diner. He never treated her like she was invisible. Not once. That was why disappearing hurt so much. Because for one dangerous night, she believed something impossible. That a man like Ethan Blackwood could actually care about a woman like her. Another sharp pressure rolled through her stomach. Olivia closed her eyes tightly. Ethan reacted immediately. We are going to the hospital. No, she whispered quickly. I cannot afford another emergency room bill. Ethan stared at her in disbelief for half a second before something dark crossed his face. Not anger toward her. Anger toward himself. Because while he spent 6 months searching luxury resorts and private airports, Olivia had been surviving alone, worried about hospital bills while carrying his children. Olivia, he said softly, almost painfully, you will never have to worry about money again. Her eyes snapped toward him. That is not your decision to make. The answer surprised him. Most people chased his last name. His fortune. His penthouse overlooking Central Park. Olivia sounded almost offended by the idea of depending on him. And somehow that only made Ethan want to protect her more. A sudden memory hit him without warning. Aspen. 4:30 in the morning. Olivia asleep beside the hotel window while snow fell silently outside. He remembered waking briefly before sunrise and seeing her curled beneath the blanket wearing his black sweater. For one terrifying second back then, Ethan had imagined what forever might feel like. Then she disappeared before morning. Mr. Blackwood. Daniel's voice interrupted again, quieter this time. Your grandmother just arrived. Ethan turned for the first time that night. A sleek silver Bentley had stopped beside the hotel entrance. Eleanor Blackwood stepped out slowly beneath the falling snow, wrapped in an ivory wool coat, diamond earrings glimmering beneath the city lights. At 72 years old, the matriarch of the Blackwood Empire still carried enough authority to silence entire boardrooms with one glance. Her sharp blue eyes moved directly to Olivia's pregnant stomach. Then to Ethan's face. Then back to Olivia again. The silence stretched dangerously long before Eleanor finally spoke. So, she said calmly, this is the woman powerful enough to make my grandson walk away from $1 billion deal. Snow continued falling across Fifth Avenue as Eleanor Blackwood stood beneath the glowing hotel lights, studying Olivia Carter with the calm precision of a woman who had spent 50 years deciding who belonged inside America's most powerful family and who did not. Around them, reporters waited breathlessly for drama, scandal, rejection, anything that would dominate headlines by morning. Olivia instinctively straightened her posture despite the pressure tightening across her lower back. Ethan remained beside her so closely she could feel the heat from his body through the cashmere coat draped around her shoulders. Eleanor finally took one slow step forward, diamond heels clicking softly against the marble entrance. "You look exhausted, dear," she said quietly. Olivia blinked in surprise. That was not what she expected from the woman business magazines called the Ice Queen of Manhattan. "I am all right," Olivia answered automatically. Another small contraction proved she was lying. Ethan noticed instantly. "She needs a doctor." Eleanor's sharp eyes flicked toward her grandson. "And yet you are standing here arguing with reporters instead of taking her inside." Ethan looked genuinely irritated now. "Because every camera in New York followed us the second they saw her." "Then stop caring about cameras." Eleanor's voice remained perfectly calm. "Your grandfather built this family by protecting the people he loved before protecting shareholders." Daniel nearly choked beside them. Ethan stared at his grandmother like he had not expected those words either. Olivia watched the strange shift happen in real time. The billionaire everyone feared suddenly looked less like a CEO and more like a grandson silently searching for permission to care about someone publicly. The freezing wind lifted Olivia's hair again as another wave of pressure rolled through her stomach. She inhaled sharply. Ethan moved instantly. One hand supported her elbow while the other rested carefully against her back. "That is it," he said firmly. "We are done standing outside." "Ethan," Daniel interrupted nervously, "if you walk away now without making a statement, the media will assume everything is true." Ethan turned slowly, his gray eyes colder than the snow falling around them. "Everything is true." Silence crashed across the hotel entrance. Even the reporters stopped talking for half a heartbeat. Daniel looked horrified. "Sir, she is carrying my children," Ethan continued calmly. "And anybody treating her like a scandal instead of a human being can answer directly to me." Camera flashes exploded brighter than ever. Olivia's breath caught. Nobody had ever defended her like that before. Not Ryan. Not her old friends who disappeared when gossip about the pregnancy spread online. Certainly not the customers at the diner whispering about the pregnant waitress without a wedding ring. Ethan Blackwood had just stood in front of national media and claimed her without hesitation. The realization terrified her almost as much as it warmed her heart. Eleanor watched Olivia carefully, noticing every flicker of emotion crossing the younger woman's face. Fear. Exhaustion. Loneliness. But not greed. Eleanor had spent decades around women chasing the Blackwood fortune. Olivia did not look like one of them. She looked like someone trying very hard not to break down in public. "Bring the car around," Eleanor told the driver quietly. "We are taking her to St. Catherine's." Daniel looked stunned again. "The private hospital?" Eleanor raised one elegant eyebrow. "Do you know another hospital in Manhattan capable of handling premature twins while protecting patient privacy from helicopters and reporters?" Ethan almost smiled for the first time all night. "I already called ahead." Eleanor glanced sideways at him. "Of course you did." Olivia looked between them in confusion. "You both planned this already?" Ethan opened the passenger door of the Bentley carefully before answering. "The moment you touched your stomach outside, I knew I was not risking anything happening to you." Her chest tightened unexpectedly at the sincerity in his voice. Not polished billionaire charm. Not rehearsed public relations language. Real fear. Real concern. Olivia slowly slid into the warm leather seat while snow melted against the windows outside. For one brief second, the noise of Manhattan disappeared completely. No cameras. No shareholders. No headlines. Just the soft scent of leather and cedarwood surrounding her while Ethan sat beside her looking like a man afraid she might disappear again if he blinked too long. The car doors closed softly behind them. Then Daniel's phone rang again. He answered quickly before his face lost all color. "Mr. Blackwood," he whispered slowly. "Someone leaked Olivia's home address online." The temperature inside the Bentley suddenly felt 10 degrees colder after Daniel spoke those words. Olivia's entire body went still against the cream leather seat, while Manhattan lights blurred beyond the snow-covered windows. "My address?" she whispered weakly. Daniel nodded grimly while staring at his phone screen. "It is already spreading across social media." Reporters are heading there now. Ethan's expression darkened instantly in a way Olivia had never seen before. Not loud anger. Something quieter. More dangerous. The kind of silence powerful men reach right before making decisions that changed other people's lives. Get security to her apartment immediately, Ethan said coldly. Nobody enters that building without my approval. Daniel was already typing messages. Done. Olivia shook her head quickly. No. I cannot afford private security. Ethan looked at her like the sentence physically hurt him. Olivia, people are already outside your building. Her breathing caught. Suddenly she pictured the tiny apartment she rented above a laundromat in Queens. The narrow hallway smelling faintly like detergent and old pipes. Mrs. Ramirez downstairs bringing her soup twice a week because Olivia looked too tired to cook. Children running up and down the stairs after school. Regular people living regular lives. Now cameras and gossip websites were turning it into another billionaire circus. This is my fault, she whispered. Ethan immediately leaned closer. No, if I never showed up tonight, do not do that. His voice softened but stayed firm. Do not blame yourself for other people being cruel. Olivia looked away quickly before he could see the tears threatening again. Nobody had defended her this consistently before. Every time she expected distance, Ethan moved closer instead. Eleanor watched them quietly from across the seat, her sharp eyes missing nothing. After a long silence, she finally spoke. How long have you been handling this pregnancy alone? Olivia hesitated. Almost 7 months. Ethan's head snapped toward her. 7? She nodded slowly. I found out about the twins a few weeks after Aspen. Ethan stared at the floor of the car for one painful second like he was calculating every missed doctor appointment, every lonely night, every moment she faced fear without him. Why did you not try harder to find me? The question came out quieter than expected. Olivia swallowed hard. Because people like you do not marry waitresses from Ohio. Ethan's eyes closed briefly. Eleanor looked out the window toward the falling snow before speaking again. That may be the saddest sentence I have heard all year. Olivia gave a weak laugh without humor. It is also true. No, Eleanor said calmly. It is what the world trained you to believe. Silence filled the car again except for the muffled sound of tires cutting through snowy Manhattan streets. Olivia suddenly remembered the first time she saw Ethan's face after Aspen. Not in person. On television. She had been carrying coffee across the diner when his interview appeared on the screen behind the counter. Billionaire CEO Ethan Blackwood discussing international expansion while stock numbers rolled beneath his name. The entire restaurant stopped to watch him. One customer whispered, Men like that do not even look at normal women. Olivia remembered nearly dropping the tray because she knew exactly how Ethan looked at women when nobody else was watching. Like they mattered. Like their words meant something. Another tight pressure rolled through her stomach. Ethan immediately noticed again. How far apart are the contractions? Olivia checked the clock glowing softly inside the Bentley. Maybe 10 minutes. Ethan cursed quietly under his breath for the first time all night. Daniel glanced up from his phone. St. Catherine's is preparing a private floor already. Olivia blinked. A whole floor? Media helicopters cannot access the East Wing, Daniel explained. It is the most secure maternity unit in New York. Olivia almost laughed at the absurdity of her life now. 48 hours ago she had been calculating whether she could afford generic baby formula after birth. Now billionaires were discussing private hospital floors like hotel reservations. Ethan suddenly removed something from his pocket and placed it carefully into Olivia's hand. She looked down in confusion. Her breath caught instantly. It was the silver snowflake pendant from Aspen. The one she accidentally left behind the morning she disappeared. You kept it? She whispered. Ethan's expression softened for the first time since the chaos began outside the hotel. I carried it for 6 months. Olivia looked up slowly. Why? The city lights reflected across Ethan's gray eyes as snow continued falling beyond the glass. Because it was the only proof you were real. Before Olivia could answer, the Bentley slowed sharply outside St. Catherine's Hospital. But something felt wrong immediately. Bright camera flashes already exploded across the hospital entrance like a storm of white lightning. Daniel looked horrified. How did they find us this fast? Then Ethan saw the giant entertainment news van parked directly outside the emergency entrance. And standing beside it, smiling beneath the falling snow, was Ryan Keller. Olivia felt her entire body tense the second she saw Ryan Keller standing beneath the glowing hospital sign with snow collecting across the shoulders of his expensive wool coat. Some people carried chaos with them like a storm cloud. Ryan had always been one of them. The entertainment cameras surrounding him swung toward the Bentley instantly the moment Ethan's driver stopped at the curb. Flashbulbs exploded against the dark windows. Ethan's expression turned ice cold beside her. He leaked the location, Daniel muttered quietly from the front seat. There is no other way the media got here before us. Ryan smiled as the hospital doors opened behind him, the exact same charming smile Olivia once mistook for kindness back when she was 24 and believed love was supposed to feel unpredictable and exciting instead of safe. Seeing him now felt like reopening an old wound she thought had finally healed. Ethan noticed the change in her breathing immediately. Who is he to you? Olivia looked down at her shaking hands. My ex-fiancé. The silence inside the Bentley sharpened. Instantly. Eleanor lifted one elegant eyebrow. Daniel quietly looked away like he already sensed trouble approaching. Ethan stared through the windshield directly at Ryan with the dangerous calm of a man calculating exactly how much damage another person could cause. The one who left you? Olivia nodded slowly. 3 weeks before the wedding. Ethan's jaw tightened hard enough for the muscle to flicker beneath his skin. Outside, Ryan was already speaking dramatically to entertainment reporters while snow drifted through the bright hospital lights. Olivia is emotionally overwhelmed right now, he announced loudly enough for nearby microphones to catch every word. I just hope nobody is taking advantage of her vulnerable condition. Olivia closed her eyes in disbelief. Unbelievable. Ethan looked at her carefully. He still contacts you? Only when cameras are nearby. The answer made something dark move across Ethan's face again. Ryan suddenly stepped closer toward the Bentley as reporters followed him like sharks smelling blood in freezing water. Olivia! He called loudly. You do not have to do this alone anymore. Ethan let out one short humorless laugh. Interesting timing for a man who disappeared 7 months ago. Before Olivia could answer, another contraction tightened painfully across her stomach, stronger than before. Her breath caught instantly. Ethan turned toward her so fast the rest of Manhattan might as well have disappeared. How bad? Worse, she admitted quietly. Ethan. His hand immediately found hers. Warm. Steady. Protective. I have you. 3 simple words. But Olivia realized nobody had ever said them to her like they were a promise instead of temporary comfort. Outside, Ryan finally reached the Bentley door just as security guards moved to block him. Cameras exploded brighter. Olivia! Ryan shouted again through the snow. Tell them the truth! Tell them this billionaire just wants good publicity before the merger. Olivia looked genuinely stunned. Publicity? Ethan's entire expression went still beside her. Too still. The kind of silence that came before powerful people destroyed careers without raising their voice. Ryan kept talking for the cameras. He does not love you, Olivia. Men like Ethan Blackwood do not marry women from Queens carrying surprise twins. The words hit harder than Olivia expected because they echoed every fear she had secretly carried for months. Ethan slowly opened the car door before anyone could stop him. Snowflakes landed against the shoulders of his black overcoat as he stepped out onto the crowded hospital curb. Every camera immediately turned toward him. Ryan's smug expression faded slightly the moment Ethan approached face to face. Ethan did not yell. That made it worse. You had 7 months to protect her, Ethan said quietly. Instead you sold her pain to reporters. Ryan forced a laugh. I am just trying to help. No, Ethan replied calmly. You are trying to stay relevant. Even the reporters went silent after that. Ethan stepped closer just enough for Ryan's confidence to visibly crack beneath the flashing lights. Listen carefully, Ethan continued. The next time you use Olivia's name for attention, every lawyer employed by Blackwood Industries will know yours. Ryan swallowed hard but still tried to smile for the cameras. You think money scares me? Ethan's gray eyes never blinked. No. But irrelevance probably does. Inside the Bentley, Olivia stared through the snowy window, unable to look away. For years Ryan made her feel small without ever raising his voice. Ethan had dismantled him in under 30 seconds simply by standing beside her instead of above her. Another contraction suddenly hit harder than all the others. Olivia gasped sharply and instinctively gripped the edge of the seat. Eleanor reacted immediately. Ethan. He turned instantly. One look at Olivia's face erased everything else around him. The reporters. Ryan. The merger. The cameras. Ethan rushed back toward the car just as Olivia whispered the words that made his entire world stop. I think my water just broke. For one terrifying second, Ethan Blackwood forgot how to breathe. Snow swirled through the flashing hospital lights while Olivia sat frozen inside the Bentley, one trembling hand pressed against her stomach and fear filling her exhausted blue eyes. The world outside continued moving around them. Reporters shouting. Security guards pushing cameras backward. Ryan Keller still standing near the curb looking stunned. But inside the car, everything narrowed to one reality. The twins were coming early. Ethan opened the door so quickly cold air rushed into the Bentley like ice water. Look at me, he said immediately while kneeling beside Olivia in the snow-covered street without caring that photographers were recording every second. Talk to me. Olivia tried to steady her breathing. I did not mean for this to happen tonight. Ethan's expression broke slightly at the apology in her voice. Even now she sounded guilty for struggling. Hey, he said softly, one hand carefully holding hers. You do not apologize for bringing our children into the world. The words hit Olivia harder than the contraction itself. Our children. Not a scandal. Not a problem. Not a mistake. Ethan turned sharply toward the hospital entrance. Where is the medical team? The emergency doors burst open almost instantly. Nurses rushed outside with a wheelchair while security guards formed a wall against the cameras. Flashbulbs exploded nonstop against the falling snow. Miss Carter, one nurse said calmly. We need to get you upstairs now. Olivia tried to stand, but another painful wave tightened across her stomach hard enough to steal her balance. Ethan caught her before she could fall. Instantly. Automatically. Like protecting her had already become part of him. The nurse looked at Ethan quickly. Sir, only family is allowed into the maternity wing. Ethan did not hesitate. Then move. Olivia looked up at him in surprise even through the pain. Ethan carefully lifted her into his arms beneath the bright hospital lights while reporters erupted into complete chaos around them. Somewhere nearby, Olivia heard Ryan shouting questions toward the cameras again, trying desperately to pull attention back to himself. Ethan ignored him completely. He only looked at Olivia. I have you, he repeated quietly while carrying her toward the emergency entrance. For the first time in months, Olivia believed him. The maternity wing on the private floor of St. Catherine's looked more like a luxury hotel than a hospital. Soft, golden lighting reflected across polished floors while floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked snowy Manhattan streets glittering beneath midnight traffic. But none of the elegance mattered once the contractions intensified. Nurses moved quickly around Olivia adjusting monitors while doctors asked rapid questions about timing and symptoms. Ethan stood beside the hospital bed refusing to move farther than 2 feet away from her. Blood pressure is elevated, one doctor said carefully while reviewing the monitor. Stress likely triggered early labor. Ethan's jaw tightened instantly. Outside the room, television anchors were probably still replaying footage of Olivia surrounded by reporters in the snow. Guilt hit him harder than expected. If he had found her sooner, if he had protected her sooner. Olivia suddenly grabbed his wrist during another contraction. Ethan looked down immediately. I am here. Her eyes filled with tears she had been trying not to show all night. I am scared. The honesty in her voice nearly destroyed him. Ethan sat carefully beside her hospital bed and brushed trembling strands of blonde hair away from her face. Nothing is happening to you, he said quietly. Nothing is happening to our babies. Do you understand me? Olivia stared at him silently. Nobody had ever fought for her this hard before. Not even close. The hospital room door suddenly opened again. Daniel stepped inside holding his phone with an expression that immediately changed the atmosphere. Ethan looked up sharply. What now? Daniel hesitated. The board called an emergency vote 30 minutes ago. Ethan's expression turned cold again. About? Daniel swallowed once. They want you removed as chief executive officer before morning. The room fell silent except for the soft rhythmic sound of the baby's heartbeats echoing through the monitor speakers. Ethan looked at the screen instinctively. 2 tiny heartbeats. Fast. Strong. Alive. Then he looked back at Daniel without emotion. Tell them no. Daniel looked miserable. They already leaked a statement saying you compromised the company for a pregnant woman. Connected to a public scandal. Olivia's face went pale instantly. Ethan. He turned toward her before she could finish. Do not. You could lose everything because of me. Ethan stared at her for a long moment, while Manhattan snow continued falling outside the giant hospital windows. Then he slowly took her hand again and placed it directly over the monitor where the twins' heartbeats pulsed through the room. Olivia, he said softly, I already lost everything once when my brother died. His gray eyes locked onto hers completely. I am not losing you too. The sound of the twins' heartbeats filled the private hospital room like 2 tiny promises refusing to disappear beneath the chaos surrounding them. Olivia lay back against the white pillows trying to steady her breathing while snow continued falling outside the massive glass windows overlooking Manhattan. The city lights blurred into silver and gold reflections against the dark winter sky. Ethan remained beside her with one hand still wrapped around hers as though letting go might somehow allow the world to take her away again. Daniel stood near the doorway looking increasingly pale while his phone continued vibrating nonstop with calls from investors, reporters, and board members demanding answers. The financial networks are already covering it live, he admitted carefully. They are calling this the Blackwood pregnancy crisis. Olivia immediately looked away in shame. Ethan noticed instantly. Do not listen to that. But it is true. Olivia whispered. Your company is collapsing because of me. Ethan's expression hardened. My company is collapsing because weak men are afraid of anything they cannot control. Eleanor sat quietly near the window watching her grandson with an unreadable expression. For years she had seen Ethan operate like a machine. Efficient. Disciplined. Untouchable. But tonight every carefully built wall around him was gone. Olivia suddenly pressed her hand tighter against her stomach as another contraction moved through her body. The monitor beside the bed beeped faster. A nurse immediately stepped closer. The contractions are stabilizing for now, she explained gently. But stress remains dangerous for both babies. Ethan looked directly at Daniel without blinking. No more bad news enters this room. Daniel nodded quickly. Understood. But before he could leave, another notification flashed across his screen. His entire face changed again. What? Ethan asked sharply. Daniel hesitated. Ryan Keller just went live on national television. Olivia closed her eyes immediately like she already knew this would happen. Ethan slowly stood from the chair beside her bed. What did he say? Daniel swallowed hard. He claims Olivia contacted him 3 months ago asking for money after discovering the pregnancy. Olivia's eyes snapped open in disbelief. That is a lie. I know, Daniel answered quickly. But the interview is everywhere already. Ethan's jaw tightened so hard the room itself seemed colder. Olivia looked suddenly exhausted in a deeper way than physical pain. It never stops, she whispered. First the gossip websites. Then strangers online calling me a gold digger. Now Ryan selling fake stories because he knows people will believe him over me. Ethan moved back toward the bed immediately. I believe you. She looked up at him silently. Ethan crouched beside her again so their eyes were level. And before this night ends, everybody else will too. Something in his voice made even Eleanor glance toward him more carefully. Not anger. Decision. Olivia shook her head weakly. You cannot fight the entire media. Ethan gave a quiet, humorless laugh. Olivia, I own part of the media. For the first time all night, she almost smiled. Almost. Then the hospital television mounted across the room suddenly switched on automatically with a breaking news alert. Ryan appeared on screen wearing a serious expression perfectly designed for sympathy. Olivia has always been emotional. He told the interviewer smoothly. I just worry she got overwhelmed after meeting someone as powerful as Ethan Blackwood. Ethan stared at the screen in complete silence. Ryan continued talking. She wanted stability. A future. I think she saw an opportunity and became attached very quickly. Olivia physically flinched hearing it. Not because she missed Ryan. Because she remembered how often he twisted reality until she questioned herself. Ethan reached over calmly and muted the television. Then he picked up his phone and dialed a number from memory. Daniel's eyes widened immediately. Sir, are you sure? Ethan never looked away from Olivia. Completely. After 2 rings, a woman answered. Good evening, Mr. Blackwood. Get me every recording from Aspen 6 months ago, Ethan said coldly. Hotel cameras. Bar footage. Staff statements. Everything. Olivia frowned slightly. What are you doing? Ethan finally looked at her fully again. Ending this. Daniel suddenly understood first. The bartender, he whispered. The one who saw everything that night. Ethan nodded once. Ryan wants publicity? Fine. His gray eyes darkened beneath the soft hospital lighting. Tomorrow morning the entire country is going to learn exactly who walked away from Olivia Carter, and exactly who searched 6 months to find her again. Olivia stared at him speechless while another soft flutter moved beneath her stomach. One of the twins kicked gently against her hand like they already recognized his voice. Ethan noticed immediately. The tension in his expression softened for one brief second before the hospital room door suddenly burst open. A nurse hurried inside looking alarmed. Mr. Blackwood, she said quickly, there is someone downstairs refusing to leave the lobby. Ethan frowned. Who? The nurse hesitated. A woman claiming she is your fiancé. The entire hospital room went silent after the nurse spoke those words. Olivia felt her stomach drop harder than the contractions themselves while snow continued drifting past the giant windows overlooking Manhattan. Ethan stood completely still beside the hospital bed, his expression unreadable for one dangerous second. I do not have a fiancé, he said flatly. The nurse looked uncomfortable. She claims she is engaged to you and says she has proof. Daniel muttered something under his breath while Eleanor slowly crossed one elegant leg over the other near the window. This should be interesting, she said calmly. Olivia immediately looked away. Of course. Men like Ethan Blackwood always had complicated lives filled with women from magazine covers and billion-dollar families. For one foolish moment tonight, she almost believed things could actually be simple between them. Ethan noticed the change in her expression instantly. Olivia. She forced a weak smile. It is fine. You do not owe me explanations. Ethan stared at her in disbelief. You think I would stand beside your hospital bed talking about our children while secretly planning a wedding with someone else? Olivia opened her mouth but no words came out. Because honestly, after everything life had done to her lately, disappointment felt easier to believe than hope. Before Ethan could say anything else, the hospital room door suddenly opened again. A tall brunette woman stepped inside wearing a white designer coat dusted with snowflakes and heels sharp enough to echo against the polished floor like warning shots. She was beautiful in the polished Manhattan socialite kind of way television cameras loved instantly. Perfect makeup. Diamond earrings. Cold confidence. But the second her eyes landed on Olivia lying in the hospital bed with Ethan standing protectively beside her, something bitter flashed across her face. So it is true, she said softly. Ethan's entire expression hardened. Victoria, what are you doing here? Victoria Sinclair gave a short laugh without humor. Interesting greeting for the woman your board practically announced as your future wife 3 months ago. Olivia looked down immediately. Ethan exhaled sharply like his patience was disappearing fast. You know that arrangement was created by investors, not me. Victoria folded her arms. And yet you never publicly denied it. The room fell quiet again because unfortunately she was right. Ethan had allowed the rumor to exist for business reasons after his brother's death, and the board used it to stabilize investor confidence during the merger negotiations. Olivia suddenly felt foolish all over again. Ethan turned toward her instantly. Look at me. She hesitated before finally meeting his eyes. There was never an engagement, he said firmly. Never a relationship. Never anything romantic. Victoria's smile tightened painfully. That is one way to describe 3 years of attending charity galas together while your board treated me like the future Mrs. Blackwood. Eleanor finally spoke from the corner of the room. Victoria, dear, if you mistake business strategy for love, that is hardly Ethan's fault. Victoria looked embarrassed for half a second before her composure returned. Then her eyes shifted toward Olivia's stomach. So this is the woman destroying the merger. Ethan stepped forward immediately. Enough. The single word landed like ice across the room. Victoria studied him carefully, then shook her head slowly. You are really willing to lose the company over her? Ethan did not even hesitate. Yes. Olivia's breath caught softly. Victoria looked genuinely shocked now. You barely know her. Ethan glanced toward Olivia beside the hospital bed while the twins' heartbeat monitor continued softly echoing through the room. That is the strange part, he admitted quietly. It feels like I have known her forever. The honesty in his voice changed something inside Olivia instantly. Because Ethan was not speaking like a billionaire protecting an image anymore. He sounded like a man finally admitting something to himself out loud. Victoria stared at him for a long moment before letting out one sad laugh. Well, she whispered, at least now I know why you never looked at me the way you look at her. Nobody spoke. Snow continued falling silently outside while the city glittered beneath midnight clouds. Then another contraction hit Olivia harder than before. She gasped sharply and grabbed the edge of the blanket. The nurse immediately stepped forward, checking the monitors. The contractions are getting closer together. Ethan moved beside Olivia instantly. I am here. Olivia looked up at him through fear and exhaustion, and something else now too. Trust. Real trust. The kind built when someone stays beside you after seeing every broken part. Ethan carefully brushed his thumb against her trembling hand. You are not alone anymore. Olivia blinked back tears as another tiny kick pressed beneath her stomach. Then suddenly the monitor sound changed. Fast. Sharp. Alarming. The nurse's face lost color instantly. Doctor, she called urgently into the hallway. We need the delivery team now. Ethan's head snapped toward the monitor. What is happening? The nurse looked at him seriously. One of the babies is in distress.